After World War II came to an end, the world believed it had entered a new era. The war was over. The enemy was defeated. Justice would finally prevail. But while cities were being rebuilt and nations tried to heal, a different kind of race had already begun. Germany lay in ruins. Entire regions were reduced to ashes. Millions were dead. Yet beneath the destruction, something survived. Knowledge, hidden deep inside underground laboratories, abandoned research facilities, and sealed military archives. Nazi Germany had developed scientific programs far ahead of their time. Rocket engineering, ballistic missile systems, aeronautics, chemical research, medical experiments, intelligence technologies, the kind of knowledge that could shape the balance of global power. American intelligence understood this reality immediately. As Allied troops advanced across Germany, specialized units followed closely behind. Their mission was not to capture soldiers or seize weapons. It was to find people, scientists, engineers, technicians, men, whose minds were considered more valuable than armies. Publicly, the Nazi regime was condemned. Its crimes were exposed. Trials were held. But privately, a different calculation was being made. The question was no longer about justice. It was about advantage. The Soviet Union was already moving quickly from the east. Research facilities were seized. Scientists were recruited or forced to cooperate. A new conflict was forming, even before the old one had fully ended. The Cold War had not yet been named, but its shadow was already spreading. American officials feared one thing above all else: falling behind. If the United States refused to act, the Soviet Union would gain access to knowledge that could decide the future of warfare, intelligence, and space exploration. That fear led to a decision made behind closed doors. A secret program was approved. Its name was Operation Paperclip. The name sounded harmless, administrative, forgettable, but behind it was one of the most controversial recruitment programs in American history. Under Operation Paperclip, hundreds of former Nazi scientists were quietly transferred to the United States. Their backgrounds were examined, then selectively rewritten. Nazi party memberships disappeared from records. Involvement in war crimes was minimized. In some cases, evidence was simply erased. The goal was simple: protect the knowledge, hide the past. Concerns were raised inside the government. How could a nation that claimed moral victory now protect individuals connected to one of history's darkest regimes? Those concerns were buried under classified stamps. One of the most famous figures brought to America through Operation Paperclip was Wernher von Braun. He was a brilliant rocket engineer, a visionary who had dreamed of space travel long before the war. But during the Nazi era, he worked on the V-2 rocket program, a weapon designed to terrorize civilian populations. The V-2 rockets were built using forced labor. Thousands died in underground factories producing them. Yet in America, von Braun's past was carefully rewritten. He was no longer described as a Nazi engineer. He became a pioneer, a scientific visionary, a symbol of progress. Von Braun and his team were relocated to American military bases, where they began working on missile technology for the US Army. Over time, their research expanded. Rockets grew more powerful. Designs became more ambitious. Eventually, the same knowledge that once fueled weapons of war became the foundation of America's space program. NASA's early achievements were built, in part, on expertise brought through Operation Paperclip. Von Braun was not an exception. He was part of a system. Across the United States, former Nazi scientists were placed into sensitive research positions. Some worked on chemical weapons programs, others on aviation systems. Others contributed to intelligence and Cold War defense strategies. Their influence shaped American military doctrine for decades. All of it was done quietly. All of it was denied. For years, Operation Paperclip remained hidden from the public. Documents were sealed. Files were classified. References were scattered and incomplete. When information finally began to surface, it shocked many Americans. The heroes of technological progress had complicated pasts. The moral clarity of victory after World War II was not as clean as it appeared. Supporters of Operation Paperclip argue that without it, America might have lost the Cold War. Critics argue that no scientific progress justifies ignoring crimes against humanity. There is no simple conclusion. Operation Paperclip forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. That fear can reshape ethics. That power can override principles. And that history is often written not by morality, but by necessity. The files were hidden. The stories were delayed. But the truth, once uncovered, cannot be erased.